Hey guys, Justin here with JHart Modelworks, coming to you from the garage. So it may be a little echoey, sorry about that, but it is what it is. It's family horror movie night. My wife and my son's best friend are watching some demon possession film or another. Horror movies are just not my thing. So instead, I figured I would come out here and I would record a bench update. Talk about what's currently going on the bench, what's going to be coming up to the bench here very shortly, as well as a couple of quick stash ads, and take a look at a couple of upgrades that I've done to the spray booth. As for what's on the bench right now, the GT40, which I'm doing as a buddy build with Chris from City Scale Models, the GT40 is completely finished. Looks fantastic. I am super happy with it. Chris is working on his, so I'm not going to do the final until he's ready. I want to go ahead and wait and give him all the time that he needs. So, Chris, buddy, don't stress. Just keep plugging away. You're going to knock it out. You're doing fantastic. So, that is coming up as a final here shortly, and that will be going off the bench because it is done. The only other thing that I have on the bench right now is Livian's Mustang. Now, Livian is sound asleep. We went to the zoo today as a family trip. The wife decided she wanted to take the family to the zoo, so my daughter got off work this morning at like 6 and did not go to sleep, proceeded to walk around the zoo all day. She didn't get to bed until I think something like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, so she is tired. So I'm not going to really show you what's going on because that's her build. I've done a lot of the painting though. Painting is done. It is in color. She wants to give this to a friend of hers. She wants to look at it as good as possible. So she's asked me to help her with the paint, especially seeing as that paint was really hard. As I was explaining to her how she needed to spray the zero paints, she was like, Dad, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Will you help me out with it? So I had her do a little, and I pretty much took care of the bulk of the paint. However, I'm going to be teaching her to do bare metal foil, and she's going to be doing that. And the clear coat's kind of hard to mess up. Clear is clear. You put down a fairly light coat. It doesn't have to be super light, but you put down a fairly light coat, and then you put down 2 wet coats. There's not a lot to mess up with the clear. So I'm going to have her do that and take care of that. But the color is fantastic. What she went with is Zero Paints Kawasaki H2R Frame Candy Green. It's a fantastic green. If you go back in the playlists for me, if I'm pretty sure the Hakasuka, the Tamiya Nissan Skyline 2000 GTR is, I'm pretty sure I did videos on that. That is the same green that she's doing this Mustang in. It's really bright candy green, gets a lot of attention. Beautiful color. She's also done white pearl stripes, and those look fantastic as well. So I think it's going to be an out of this world color paint. It's going to be fantastic. After the body paint, everything else is pretty easy paint. You're probably looking at like Tamiyas and stuff. So I'm going to make her do all the rest of the painting. That way she gets more comfortable with the airbrush and, getting a feel for it. And she can do so on parts that aren't as important, The body, especially for something you're giving away, the body needs to be like absolutely perfect. Other stuff like the engine, the interior and stuff, you can, you've got room to play in there. And so I think that's going to give her the learning time and the getting her comfortable with the brush and how to do light coats and build up. That's going to give her that experience so that on her next build, she'll be ready to tackle the painting by herself. like minimal supervision and just us spending time together type thing. So coming up on the bench, I have Tamiya's GMA T50. Beautiful kit. It looks to be awesome. It looks to be very complex. Been reading some reviews here or there that say that maybe when you do the build that it's a little hard to get the rear body panels to line up right. We'll see. That's definitely going to be a build series. It is a brand new kit. There aren't a whole lot of builds that are out there. Most of the builds that I have seen are in Japanese. So I definitely want to get that as a build series and have you guys build that along with me in case some of you guys may be, building that kit yourself coming up soon. You'll kind of see where maybe I had some struggles or how I handle some things. So that is definitely coming up on the bench. That's going to be the next build, is the GMA T50. I am also in the planning phases of the Testers Lamborghini Silhouette. This is another one of those curbside kits like the Di Tommaso Pantera. It's meant to be like a kid's toy from, I think, the 80s, like the early 80s is when this kit was boxed. I think the original kit may have been from Eschi or somewhere like that. And I think it was originally designed in the 70s. So there's not much to this kit at all. It is a body, pretty much a flat chassis pan, an interior that is just a couple of pieces, really, and some janky wheels and tires. There's very, very little to this kit. So my plans at this point right now, I am looking at getting rid of the little exhaust tips that come on it and the little nubs that are on the bottom of the chassis panel, and either getting the Lamborghini Miura exhaust from Colts 3D from Motoboss, because he does the Miura engine and the Miura, he does the exhaust. I may also just go ahead and 3D model an exhaust for the Silhouette. I'm not going to be putting an engine in this car for a bunch of reasons. Number one, no one does the Lamborghini V8. Literally no one. There's almost no reference photos for it, and there's no demand for it. The engine that would be in this car would have been in, I believe, the Urraco, and then they upgraded a little bit for the Jalpa. And there's no desire for it. Nobody really wants to do it. So there's nobody out there who has done it. And my skills aren't to the point. My 3D modeling skills are not to a point that I can do an engine. On top of that, there's no reference. There's like a handful, maybe, of reference photos for that engine. It doesn't even look like a very pretty engine to begin with. So it doesn't seem like it's worth all the work to try and get an engine in there and build a frame and all that for it. But I do, on the real car, the exhaust, like the mufflers and some of the piping, and then the tips are very visible. And all you see are just kind of a couple of nubs, really fat nubs for exhaust tips. Not real pretty. I'm also looking at getting rid of the wheels and the tires and adding some disc brakes because that's, low-hanging fruit. The seats are molded into the back wall of the interior, so getting rid of those is going to be interesting. But I am planning on attempting to get rid of those and put in some more modern seats. I'm looking at replacing the mirrors so far. I'm going to have to do some decals because I don't think there are any. If there are, they are not in good shape. Yeah, I'm looking in this box and there are no decals in this box. So this kit has no decals. So I'm going to have to do some work for the interior. Definitely going to do some gauge decals and, kind of dress up. This is a convertible kit. It's a target top car. So the interior is going to be very visible. So kind of want to dress that up a bit. I don't really like the steering wheel in it, even though it is an accurate steering wheel. It's kind of funky. Like the steering wheel is about that long from front to back. Like there's these four spokes that go in at like this really, and it's weird. Like the steering wheel sits like right up on the front of the dash, and then just these spokes bring it way out. It's a really strange steering wheel. So I'm probably gonna get rid of the steering wheel and do something else. It has some sun visors molded in. I'm probably gonna remove those as well. I want to look at trying to do some functional. Oh, no, this is crazy. Um, I would like to do some kind of a functional sun visors because, like I said, this is a Target and I'm not planning on putting the top on it. So, being able to just kind of tap those sun visors and have them rotate down. Maybe some 0.5 millimeter metal rod, something like that, and just have them, rotate on that rod. Might be nice. So yeah, there's definitely some things that we have planned for this one, and I'm kind of in the planning stages. I'm looking at a color. I'm thinking of a metallic red, but I don't know which one. Part of me wants to do for Christmas. Livian got me some splash paints. It's a Fiat color, I want to say. No, it's an Alfa Romeo color. It's a Rosso Competizione, and it's a metallic red, so I might use that. I also thought about a metallic blue, maybe a candy blue, but I do a lot of candies, and I was trying to do something a little different, maybe a pearl or something. I don't know. So plans are going on for that. So this is either going to get started up right after the GMA T50, or maybe as a side project during the T50, because build videos are going to take a while. You guys know I've complained about it before. Don't want to beat that dead horse, but I'm going to beat that dead horse again. 50-hour work weeks, 4 days a week are in the office now. 2 hours to drive there, 2 hours to drive back. That's 14 hours a day. By the time I get home and cook dinner, it's pretty much time to go to bed. So I get to build on the weekends only, and then so I'll get to record, and then I'll have to, little bits here and there across the next week to edit. It takes a while to edit a build video. So we're probably looking every other week on the build videos for the T50. So I may just kind of spin this up as like a little side project, and 1 or 2 weeks here or there in between the build videos, just do updates, because the update videos are quicker. Just record the update and say, yeah, this is what we got going on, this is where we're at. Very little editing, so who knows, we'll see where that goes. Moving on to some stash ads. So my buddy Diedrich, I've talked about Diedrich before. Diedrich is the guy who takes my models every now and then to shows. When I can't go, he proxies them for me. In fact, he took several of my builds down to the Capitol Classic in Austin a couple of weekends ago, and a couple of them actually placed. I think I got 2. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think I placed with 2. I haven't picked them up from him yet, so I got to go catch up with him sometime this weekend and pick up the builds and the hardware. So, but that was kind of cool. But he was talking to me leading up to it, and he's like, I've got this Hellcat that I'm working on, which he's like nailed the body paint, like freaking amazing. He's got like the whole Hellcat theme on it, and he was putting the plain Jane engine that came in this AMT Dodge Charger kit. He's just putting the standard engine in it, but he had the Hellcat all down the sides of it. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna put a Hellcat on the side of the car, you need a Hellcat in the engine bay. So I 3D printed him up a Hellcat engine from, I want to say it's the Pixel 3D engine. I know it's not the Motobus engine. I want to say Pixel 3D did it. Again, it's off Colts 3D, so if you have a 3D printer, look for Pixel 3D and Hellcat, and it should pop up. But he gave me, he said, I've got another one of these, and I'll just give that to you. I'm like, cool, that works for me, because I wasn't really asking him for anything. He's just like, hey, I was just like, dude, I'm not, you're not building the Hellcat on the side of the car and not putting a Hellcat engine in the car. He's like, well, I don't think it's like, nah, it ain't happening. So that's getting added to the stash. On top of that, I also picked up, I've seen several guys do unboxings on it. I think it may have been KPI guy. I don't watch a lot of KPI guy, but he did a build on it. It looks to be a reboxing of the monogram kit, but it is the new release of the Shelby Cobra 427. Some of y'all know my very first model coming back into the hobby as an adult was the monogram 124th 427 that didn't have the hood scoop on it, that kind of cheesy kit. That I think it was like a Revell monogram kit, and it was absolutely, like, the build is absolutely horrible. None of the glass made it in. I broke the window frame, none of the little side mirrors, the windshield, nothing made it into this kit. Paint went to hell. Just everything that could go wrong went wrong. So I picked this up, we're going to redo it, and we're going to do a better job. At the same time, like, this is considered the Revell kit, the monogram kit, not the Revell kit. It's Revell, but Revell bought monogram. The monogram Shelby is considered to be the most accurate of the Shelby Cobras. Fujimi's got one, and I have it, and I plan to build that as well. So my plans are, and my plan has always been for the Fujimi Cobra, I was going to put a Coyote engine in it, some version of a Coyote engine. I now have the Voodoo engine from the new GT350, and I have the Predator engine from the GT500. I don't know which one's going to fit, but I'm pretty sure one of those two engines is going into the Fujimi. I'm thinking at the same time I'm going to build the Revell alongside it, and the Revell is going to get the old school 427 with the Shelby Cobra air cleaner and the Cobra valve covers. I'll probably have to 3D print those, but I definitely want to do those. I think those will be a nice touch to it, but yeah, that's the plans for this one. So I'm thinking, I don't know when that's going to happen, probably a long time from now, because I have several builds kind of planned out. But at the time that I do it, I want to do both at the same time and kind of do like a side-by-side build with them. So that is it for the stash ads. I'm going to go ahead and flip this into shaky cam because I've made some upgrades to my spray booth area. All right, so the very first upgrade we have is this stand for my airbrushes. Now, this is probably the third time that I've printed this since I've gotten my 3D printer. It's actually just one of these. When I slice them up to print in my slicer, I put two of them on the build plate and squish them together, and it prints them up as one solid piece. Now, they are meant to be screwed down onto something, but I don't really have anything to screw them down on, so they keep falling and they keep getting broken. My spray booth is a Pace, I forget which one it is, but it's a Pace spray booth. It's a high quality booth. Handles everything that I can throw at it. I cannot recommend these spray booths enough. They are ridiculously expensive. They are much more expensive than that little $60 or $70 plastic thing that you see on Amazon, but that thing is not safe for spraying 2K clear. It just isn't. In my opinion, it doesn't really do the job for lacquers either. It's just not there. But this thing is made of galvanized steel. So I thought, hey, let's slap some magnets on the bottom, some of these really strong neodymium magnets, and it does not come off. That is a very nice upgrade to this janky thing that doesn't even stay up. This is bent to all hell and back. So basically I was keeping the Patriot on this side, and then I would keep the Omni 4000 over here, and this kind of slid around a lot because those suction cup thingies don't really hold well. So this with the magnets is a much nicer, it's more stable, and it puts everything on this side, so it's kind of right where I would go to spray, and then it's just kind of a natural progression, as opposed to, you know, spraying over here, then reaching across everything to stick it off to the side. So that's the first upgrade to the booth. The second upgrade is, this is, I'm pretty sure this is available on either Thingiverse or Colts 3D. It's a really nice file. It does take a long time to print. Not mine. This one is mine. This one is kind of cool. So all the stuff that you see on here typically has floated around either down here in my workspace or up here on top of my spray booth. And with these bright ass LEDs, I can't actually see what's up here. So I had to kind of feel around. This will kind of lay down here. These would kind of get laid down here. This stuff would actually be up on top. So this is, so there's that, which also would stay, this would also be up on top. Again with the magnets, but this is just kind of a little organizer. And this is kind of my second version of the design. So I've got a cutout here that holds my Badger paint mixer. I've got a shelf here. I added another shelf up here. I have two large holes that are large enough to handle the big Excel X-Acto knives with the little nut collet on the end, as well as 6 of these smaller ones. I didn't really plan these out very well because I can't reach them for the most part. But the plan for these is if I'm just doing like 1 or 2 parts, and I don't want to bring out like my big cat scratching pad to hold the parts, I just want to do like 1 or 2 really quick parts, I can stick them on the alligator clips, and I've got a place to hold the alligator clips instead of, you know, sticking the clip in my mouth while I spray each part. So that just kind of sticks onto the side. Again, the joys of the thing being made of galvanized steel is that this thing just kind of sticks here. And I can just stick my Badger paint mixer on here. I can get my cups up here. I can get my little cup strainers. These are kind of cool. I found them on Amazon. But you can kind of put your 2K clear in there, and that's a 190 micron strainer. So you just kind of put that in there and then pour your 2K through the strainer and then spray it out, and it strains anything that you put in the color cup while you're putting it in the color cup, instead of it kind of being off to the side. Some tweezers, you know. Get all of these tools up off my bench, out of my way. And it just gives me a much nicer area to work through. Y'all don't get to see this view very often. You always get mounted right here so that you're in the spray area so that I can film. But that's what my entire spray booth looks like. I got my compressor right here. You know, the switch for the compressors up there. I've got some LED lights off to the side. I just always have them on, so as soon as I hit the power switch down there, everything comes on all at once. And then I just kind of vent that out the side, and when I go and spray, that's open up to vent out the fumes. So we're going to go ahead and pause this and get this flipped back around and wrap this up. All right, guys. So yeah, that's kind of a cool thing that I've been working on, that little organizer. It's been working out really well for me, and I enjoy it. So I am going to go ahead and throw a link in the description down to my Colts 3D page. I'm going to go ahead and throw that organizer up on the Colts 3D page, so if you've got a 3D printer, you can download and print out the design files as well. If you do download it and print it, I printed mine as a hollow print and not a solid. It hollows out a little bit here and there, not all of it, but it does make it a bit lighter. It'll be heavier and use up more resin if you do it as just one big solid chunk. So if you do hollow it out when you print it like I did, I recommend putting some drain holes up at the top. You can do that in your slicer. I know in Liti Slicer, it's in the preparation where you do your supports, there's an option for holes. And just put a couple of holes in the top of it, like right at where it stops doing the hollowing, so that you can drain off the excess resin. Otherwise, when it prints those last layers, it's going to trap some resin up in the top of it, and then when you cure it, it's going to have resin sloshing around that can cause you some problems later. So yeah, that was definitely a recommendation. But yeah, I'm going to throw that down there. If you're interested, purchase the file and print up your own. That's going to wrap up this video. Again, this is probably going to be a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but we did do a bench update on what's on the bench, an update on what's coming, what I've got planned for the the next couple of builds that I've got planned. We've talked about some stash ads. We looked at some of the stuff that I've got going on, upgrading my bench with some 3D printing. So there, we did cover a lot, but I just thought this would be a good time. We're waiting on Chris to catch up, and I want to give Chris all the time he needs. I don't want Chris to feel rushed in any way, so I figured this would be a great time to go ahead and do an update video on the bench and just kind of not just about building, but kind of talk all about the hobby as well. So thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I appreciate you watching the videos, and I will catch you guys on the next one.